Okay, so this is still lesson 2-7, and we're going to talk about sales tax and discounts. If I could spell today. And today's date is 12/4/15. Okay, so we were talking yesterday about percent of increase, decrease, and the difference between our original value and our new value divided by the original value equals percent over 100. Well, we basically have the same idea when it comes to sales tax and to discount. So if you think about it, what do I do to my subtotal when I have sales tax? What happens to my subtotal to my total? Okay, so it increases, right? So sales tax is just an example. Sales tax is just an example of a percent of increase. But if I go to a store and they're having a sale and I get a discount, what's going to happen to my subtotal? I get a decrease, right? I pay less. Okay, so we can kind of set it up in the same sort of manner, or we actually have a little bit more streamlined versions of writing our problem. So I'm just going to show you a couple of ratios, and then we'll do 2 examples. So for example, what you're going to do to figure out sales tax is you're going to take the amount of the purchase, or I should say subtotal. Everybody understand what I mean by subtotal? Okay, subtotal is you go to the store, you go up to the register, and they total up everything that you purchase. And then that's the first total. And then they do whatever they need to do. Whether, like, I go to Target and I have the red card, so I get 5% off. So they decrease my cost by 5%. Then I have to pay tax, so they increase my cost by 8%. All right, so I have actually 2 subtotals on mine. The first one, the second one is after the discount of 5%. The final one includes the increase of the sales tax.
Wouldn't you just add everything up first and then do the discount?
Did I just say that?
No, you said
Subtotal, and then I get a 5% discount, and then I have a second subtotal, and then off of that second lower subtotal, then they do sales tax.
no, I mean add everything up instead of doing the discount in the middle. Do the discount at the very end. You said in the middle.
Don't look at me, I don't know what you're
Okay, I'm confused because you have a subtotal.
Yeah, the first subtotal.
Tax and then the discount, instead of the discount and the tax.
Because you get taxed on what your goods, what you're going to have to pay for the goods. You don't get taxed on the original price. So if you get a discount, they don't tax until after you get a final subtotal, which is if you've had discounts, they're taken off. Okay, they can't tax you on things you're not paying for, and that discount you're not paying for, right? That's why it's a discount. Okay, if they did tax on the original price, then that's illegal. Okay. Okay. Whew, that got me a little bit nervous
Just go to
there.
Australia when they just put the total price.
Other countries, well, it's not even just in Australia. For example, you go to Pittsburgh, and certain items receive no tax. Clothing is not taxed in Pennsylvania. That's one of the things they don't tax. In other, like Nevada, there's no sales tax because there's so much money coming in from the gambling that they don't charge sales tax. So there's different things for different states. Okay, we unfortunately don't fall under any of those categories. So let's think about how this would look like if we had a percent of increase. So basically with sales tax, you have a subtotal. And that is going to get multiplied by your tax rate. And then you're going to get sales tax. Somebody's cell phone's going off. So you have a subtotal. You multiply it by the tax rate. And by the way, I'm going to add a little thing here. Your tax rate has to be changed to a decimal. You cannot work with percents. Okay? And then that's going to equal your sales tax. And then you take your subtotal. You add your sales tax. And that equals your final cost. So if you think about it, we could write this as a percent of change. This would be your tax rate over 100 because it's a percent. And then over here, it would be your subtotal over your final. Okay, that's kind of how this all works out. Or something along those lines. So anyway, let's move on. That's how I do sales tax and final cost. Okay, let's talk about the other guy. For discount, we take our subtotal and we multiply it by the discount rate. So again, we have to remember we don't multiply by percents, and it's given to us as a percent, 30% off, so on and so forth. So we change it to a decimal, and that equals the amount of discount. That's weird. I know, it's like, ooh, somewhere over here, over on that side. It's a weird sound, though, isn't it?
I don't have that written down.
Okay. So then you take your subtotal and you subtract the discount amount. And that equals your sales price, or sale price. Now, most of the time, that's not where the story ends, because you then have to add tax onto that, okay? But again, that's how you get your sales price. If you want to get to your final cost, you would have to go back and do, instead of where it said subtotal plus sales tax, or subtotal times the tax rate equals the sales tax, it would be the, here, sales price times the tax rate equals the tax, sales tax, and then subtotal, that would be after this, plus the tax rate, or sales tax equals the final cost. So you just add that next step back on. So let's do a couple problems and see how they have us do it. They may have us figure out what the discount amount is. So it may not be all straightforward problems. So I'm honestly just copying what they have here. Directions are going to tell you to solve. And remember what you're doing with word problems. You'll have an unknown. You're going to define it. You're going to translate an equation. You're going to solve it. And then write the answer out in a problem. So what's interesting is this problem has my name in it. Marta. Yeah. Marta, that's me.
Points, I got close.
Yes, you got it close. Is purchasing wire and beads to make jewelry. Okay. Interesting. I am a crafty person. However, I do not like to make jewelry. Beads are not my thing. Her merchandise is $28.62 before tax. So what word did we use that would take the place of merchandise? Jackie? What word would take, that I already used, that would take the place of merchandise? Bryce? subtotal. Okay, so basically they took all the things I was going to buy, totaled them, and I got $28.62. But I haven't paid tax on it yet. So if the tax is 7.25% of the total sales, oops. What is the final cost? So what I find is interesting is the tax is 7.25% of this total sales. Okay, so basically, remember you talked about the percent proportion is over of equals percent over 100. It's that same idea that we can use to set up this problem. Okay, so what we can say for our solving is we want to figure out the final cost, but in order to find out the final cost, what are we actually solving for in this problem? What do we need to find out in order to figure out the final cost? Brandon?
Tax rate?
No, we got that. They told us it's 7.25%. Sales tax. We got to calculate the sales tax. Okay? So we could set it up like this. That we've got the amount of sales tax would be based on, that's the part over what we're being taxed on, the $28.62. That would be equal to the tax rate over 100. Okay. Now, this is what most people do to solve this problem, is in order to figure out the sales tax, they rewrite the problem and they say, okay, well, if I did the cross products, I basically am going to be multiplying the 28.62 times 0.0725. And they come up with the problem and they write it this way. So the subtotal times the tax rate as a decimal, so we're changing 7.25 divided by 0 to 0.0725. That would equal the amount of tax. So that's a different way to think about these problems, okay? So it's still using that idea of percent of change. We're increasing our costs by 7.25%. So we get to do some fun multiplication. So we've got 2862. I'm going to multiply it by 725. I don't need to worry about decimals. I can put them in at the end. So I get 10, 31, 43, 14. Then I cross those all out, put in a placeholder. 4, 12, 16 and 1 is 17, 4 and 1 is 5. Cross those guys out. And then I put in two placeholders. I get a 14, 42 and 1 is 43, 56 and 4 is 60, 14 and 6 is 20. So I get a 0, 5, 9, 14, 7, 0, 2. Now, altogether, I had 4 digits after the decimal here, 2 digits after the decimal here, so I need a total of 6 digits after the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I get, rounded to the nearest penny, $2.07 is the tax. So for my final answer, I'm going to go ahead and take that number. I'll go back to my 28.62. I'm going to add my sales tax, that 2.07, oops, 07, and I'm going to get my final answer is, let's see, we get 7 and 2 is a 9, 0 and 6 is a 6, 2 and 8 is a 10, and then we carry over, and we get a final answer of $30.69. Okay? Now Monday, I'll talk about there's a way to get to that answer in one step instead of taking two, but I'll wait till Monday. Maybe you can figure that out. All right, so let's do a problem that has a discount to it. Everybody good here? Okay. So again, we have to write out this problem. This one says, since Tyrell, I just write it, earned good grades in school. Yes, you need to write it. He qualifies for a discount on his car insurance. Okay, well, remember, what level is this course normally taught at? This course is normally taught at high school. So most of the examples are high school related. Okay, when they give you real world examples, it's really relating to a high school student. And a lot of high school kids are actually getting their learner's permit, some of them during freshman year or sophomore year. Okay,
My sister got hers yesterday.
awesome for her. Don't get in the car. It's illegal unless there's an adult there. His monthly payment without the discount, we're going to have to figure out what that noise is. Is $85. Sounds like some aliens trying to contact us right now. Actually, it sounds like you've got a cassette player, and the cassette's not working right, or the DVD or the CD is kind of stuck, and it just kind of keeps trying to play and goes no 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 no.
Is this Sari hearing us all talk about?
Yes, you're gonna. When you watch this video, you can hear us. The discount is 20%. If the discount is 20%, what will he pay each month? So a lot of problems with our word problems is that we have to give you background so you can understand what's going on. So what we're going to be trying to figure out in this problem is not what is he going to pay. That's not our unknown. We have an intermediate thing that we have to determine. What's the intermediate thing that we have to determine? Think back to the top of your notes. Yeah. So we're going to figure out the amount of discount.
Would we have to write it like on a test where we have to write like x equals what's this?
Are you going to use x in your equation?
Yeah.
Then you have to tell me what it represents. Okay. So again, we can set it up as a proportion like percent of change, and we've got the amount of discount over the total is equal to the 20% discount. So I do cross products, and I get 100x equals, and then we get a 0, we get a 10, we get 16, and 1 is 17. Divide by 17. And we get the amount of the discount is $17.
Why did you divide by 17?
Oh, I divide by 100.
Oh.
If I said 17, I apologize. I get 17 as my answer. Now, we're not done because that's just the amount of the discount. So what do I do next to get to my final answer? Okay, so I'm going to take my original cost and subtract the discount from it. And then I'm going to do it this way. And I get 68. So basically what he's going to pay, and I didn't write the other one as a sentence, he will pay $68 a month for car insurance. Okay. So actually, I'm going to go back to the other one and then say that Marta's total purchase is $30.69. Okay? And that's it.